Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the canyon. Welcome to a nice, sweet short from the comments, because someone had asked about shimming the Injora silicone inserts. This is a red one because I purchased the red ones, and they're not really useful for anything because your rig would have to weigh about 37 pounds for these to work. But they can work for perfect instructional things like this. So what you might say, well, what are you shimming them for? Well, here's the deal. Much like Proline makes inserts that fit Proline rims and Proline tires, the Injora silicones, whether they be red, imagine a blue one is in my hand, or these green ones, which are still in the package. The green ones are kind of the ones I use the most. These inserts are 36 millimeters wide because that fits the tires that Injora makes. So if you get a Swamp Claw, you put this bad boy in there, it fits. Because like many things in this increasingly thoroughly evolving modern era, everything getting skinnier. So these are a perfect fit. So comp pins, Kraken claws, XHX pins, they all just fit. You put them in. If you're running a tire that's a little bit narrower, has a thicker of a sidewall, anything that you see with ribbing and belting, they don't need to be shimmed because they just fit. But if you want to pop something in there that is, say, something more along the lines of a typical Class 2, like this J-Concept Hold, little exhibit here, you throw this guy in here, and vertically, he's doing the job, right? It's the right size. It's a 475 Class 2 tire, so these work. The problem is, there is not an insignificant amount. What happens is you have a tire here that is around 48 millimeters outside, typically 45 millimeters or so inside, and an insert that's 36 millimeters wide. That's about 9 millimeters total split between the two sides. So what happens is the insert floats around, much like how you get insert slip on the beadlock ring. The insert, you know, we've all seen it with dual stages where all of a sudden the tire is puckered way over one side of the wheel. So not only then can you are at risk of insert slippage, that is insert sliding on the wheel, you're at risk of the tire sliding on the insert. So the tire behavior gets really weird and unpredictable. So when we have a tire that's wider, Canyon Trail, Deep Woods, any of the Class 2 J concepts are also too wide for the Injora inserts. One would say, well, then you can just get the competitor insert. This is I think these were AMK. They're sold under so many different names, under so many different retailers, that I just call them non-Injoras. They're basically the same thing. They're a little firmer than a blue, so if your rig is not particularly heavy, you do have to tune them anyway via cutting. It's kind of the same thing. They're very close, but then vertically, you see this right here? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. These inserts, the non-Injoras, are a good bit, right about there. They're about that much shorter. Talking 3 or 4 millimeters vertically. So they're wider, they're 42 millimeters wide, so we just have that little bit of space on the sides. But they're also firmer. They're somewhere between the Injora blue and the Injora red. The red is unusable except for instructional exercises. I'm sure someone out there has a rig heavy enough to use those, but I don't. So they're functional for things like this. So we want to pretend that this is blue. This is blue now. If you're colorblind, this could be blue. We want to put that into this tire, but it's too skinny. It's 9 millimeters. In that 7 to 9 millimeters too narrow, depending on how much like bag you want on the outside. So all you're going to need is you're going to need a foam. You can use the one that comes out of the tire. It's fine. It's fine. You just need a foam. I like this ridiculous foam that came out of the Yokohamas on the Optic because it might be harder than that red guy. It's insane. It's well and truly. Will it even smush it down? Not really. It's insane how firm these are, because we're just going to use it for arts and crafts. And when I shim, I use fridge liner. It doesn't matter what color your fridge liner is. You just want your fridge liner to be around the 7 to 8 millimeter thickness. There are much thinner fridge liners out there. These is like a teal color. I've got green, I've got yellow. Like we've gone through. There's the yellow ones. There's like a light soft green. There's like a medium green. They come in all kinds of colors, and Amazon is never really helpful as to like what thickness they are. So sometimes, what are they? Is it Veggie Saver? Dualplex. Sometimes the Dualplex Veggie Saver is the correct thickness. Sometimes you get the really thin stuff. It's genuine. It is honestly a crapshoot because it's for vegetables in the refrigerator. That they're not really giving us all of the breakdowns and the specs on them. So you're going to go like this. You're going to set that on there, and you're going to take a Sharpie and you're going to mark around it. And the only important part about after you mark around it is when you cut it out with a pair of scissors and get this donut, which we call close enough. It's not perfectly round on the outside. It's not perfectly round on the inside. You're going to have two pen lines. You're going to have a pen line around the outside and a pen line around on the inside. You want to cut on the outside of the inside line and the inside of the outside line. Did any of that make sense? Basically, after you've cut it out, you want it to be smaller than your template on the outside, but bigger than your template on the inside. It just makes it easier to mount because you have to push a beadlock face through it. So then you take your rim, you take your tire, and the only important part here is you want to put your shim in first. I have made efforts to install a shim after installing the silicone, and it's ice skating uphill. Maybe it's possible. What you want to see is what we've incidentally achieved here. So you've got the lip of the beadlock. You want that fridge foam sitting down, never overlapping that bead. See how we basically can't see it because it's up along that ring? That's it. That's all we're doing. We're just trying to make this a little bit wider. And well, we're trying to make this a little bit wider. It's not going to make this any wider. It does not matter. And I have tested it fairly thoroughly what side of the tire you put the shim on. It doesn't seem to matter. I would think, oh, I tried them all four on the outside. And, okay, we have that established as a baseline. And then I mounted four with all four to the inside. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Indistinguishable. And if it's setting down in there nicely, when you put your silicone in, it won't bunch it up. It didn't here. And the only way you'll be able to tell once you have it put together and you go to mount it on a wheel is that one side will feel firm and one side will feel soft. So it's still, despite the fact that empirical testing over time has shown absolutely no difference, I still feel like soft to the outside is better for no reason. I think having the harder inside will help you bite more. But then I start to think, well, then what if you're turning this way? So this is the drive forward. What if you're turning, and the outside of the tire is, don't you want that edge to be the firmer edge? It has made no difference at all. It does not make the tire any wider because we're just shimming it out to the thickness. We're matching the insert, sort of. We're pseudo-matching the insert to the tire because it is impossible to beat the economy, utility, and versatility of those silicone inserts. I have tried the shimmed versus the previously shown this, and here's the thing. Most times, if you have a rig that is in, say, the 7.5 pounds, something like a Phoenix, an uncut blue with a shim, done. That's all you have to do. You cut your 4 shims out, you put them in the wheels, you put them in the tires on the wheels, and you're done. These are a little too firm for that. They also are bagged out on the top. So the behavior's a little, the fitment of these is a little more specific unless you're gonna do the easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not so sure if it goes all the way to mac and cheesy, but if you throw the AMKs in a Traxxas Canyon trail, bosh, look how squared off, bam, they fit. So it is my opinion, brought about by some time of empirical testing and evidence, that this insert is for 465 tires. Silicones are not 100% universal. We basically have them in 3 sizes. Injora makes a class I don't have to unpack, it's right here. Injora makes a class 2 for their width. They make a class 1, and then you have the AMK. This is 465s, this is 475s, this is class 2s, and you can get away with some 435s, 445s if they have a thicker carcass. That's about that. And if you have a really wide one, you can just shim them with some fridge foam. And that's what we do. That's what we do around here. Because, as I have said many, many times, and I'll continue to say it into the future, the absolute most top-tier performance that you can get is a 3D printed insert that is made specifically for that tire, specifically for the vehicle that they are going to be mounted on. But arriving at that decision, don't be halfway through your build and buy some 3D printed inserts. They're probably going to stop being as good by the time you're done. You want them after the rig is finished, right? You might move a little bit this way, that might move some parts around, but your geometry, your shocks, all that stuff is already sorted. It is the first part of your suspension in terms of it is the only part of the vehicle that contacts the ground. But it is the last part of your suspension in that it is the last part that you should be doing the final tuning on. So these things right here, this right here, is not the end all nor the be all of inserts. What it will do is work. Not with that red one. Again, pretend it's blue. Or if your vehicle's like 5.5 pounds, pretend that that red is green. They don't need to be cut, they don't need to be modified. You just shim them, you put them in, and you're going to get a level of performance that you'll go, hey, you know what? This is solidly okay. And depending on the build and the environment and the tire and the cooperation between all of the parts involved in this situation, you might go, well, I just saved myself some money because I don't have to buy a $50 plus set of 3D printed inserts because I'm getting the thing done like this. Takes about 5-10 minutes to cut a full set of shims. Someday I'll figure out how to make the laser cut them for me, but until then, we trace around a foam insert with a Sharpie. We cut them out with some all-purpose scissors, and we go about our business. Did I miss it? If I missed anything, that's what the section right below the video is for. Comment below should you feel so inclined. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thanks for dropping by the canyon. So, you know what? Sometimes we can make an episode that's under half an hour. Anybody that says we can't probably hasn't seen this one. Look, I'm going to even clean up. So, come on back and see us again real soon. We loved having you for this one. We love having you for all of them. Look at, we spun you in. We're going to spin you out, too. Look at this. We'll see you next time.